today we're going to be talking about our digital marketing maturity model, which is something that Andy came up with and that we are going to dive into and have him explain a little bit about the history of it, where it came from, and how it can help people. But this is going to be an amazing free resource for especially e-commerce owners, but really any business owner who is looking to see where they fall in their digital marketing roadmap and kind of what next steps they should take, which is honestly such a confusing place for business owners to be, and usually why they hire people like us to help guide them through it. So I'm excited that we've given them a little bit of a guide to at least start thinking about it on their own.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely been kind of a long time coming. We've been in production for a while, and honestly, it's been ready to go for a while. And we've just been kind of dragging our feet on release. So really excited to kind of get this out there and really to share it with our clients and like you said, anybody who wants it.
Yeah. So maybe you can tell us, where did this come from? Why did we set this up? Why are we giving it away to people? What is the digital marketing maturity model?
So the big thing here, we tend to get a lot of the same questions. A lot of times, when we're working with new clients, one of the things we hear really often is, hey, I'm just going to jump right in. I've got my website going. Let's drive some Google ads and make a profit. Let's just bring some people in and all of a sudden profits are going to start turning. And typically, if you've played with Google ads before and just kind of dipped your toe in, you've probably found that that's not the case. It's not quite that simple, So we started to find that some clients pretty quickly were able to scale up and start to get different things going. And other clients, we turn on some ads and drive some traffic. And ultimately, it just didn't really convert, or it wasn't really successful right at first. Really, it's just that they weren't quite ready to start driving paid traffic to their website. So we started to think through what are some of the characteristics of different companies at different phases. And ultimately, it does come down to your maturity in digital marketing. So what we've done is laid out a path that kind of starts from the very basics, getting your website up and running, all the way through to scaling your results and really trying to make a ton of profit online through your ads and your website and really getting everything together. So that was kind of the genesis of it. What it really has become is hopefully a very simple model, very simple checklist that anybody can look through and just try to evaluate themselves on kind of where they're at. And then it helps us a lot as we're working with clients as well to kind of make sure that people are at the point where we're ready to help them or where they're ready for us to help them, so that we can really be as successful as possible and we're not just spending their money. We want to make sure that kind of everything else is in line and everything else is in place, so that when we do go and kind of turn on the fire hose of traffic coming to the website, they're really ready to handle it and really ready to make some money with it.
Yeah. And just great foundational pieces here. If you're wanting to follow along, you can go to ppcpitbulls.com, and up in our menu, we have a free resources section, and that's where you can find this free to download. You just put in your name and your email. We won't be bothering you a ton with extra emails. You'll get the download in your inbox. It's a PDF, so you can kind of just open it up if you want to follow along, or if you just want to download it now and check it out later. We also have some other free resources available in that section, so check them out. But we're going to pull it up and kind of go through some of the sections and just give you a little bit more info about what each step and what each level is about. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our roadmap. We call it the digital marketing maturity model, but you can look at it as a roadmap. That's our theme, makes it super simple. We're driving through to scaling, we're driving through to success. So for the first level is setup. Andy, do you want to walk us through what is the setup level?
Yeah, so this is the really basic stuff, the getting down to basically, do you have a website set up? Are your products listed for sale? But then also some of the offline stuff. Are you ready to really handle the volume of sales that you can get? Are you ready to, scale up distribution? If we're going to run some ads and get you more sales, are you able to, meet those sales in a reasonable amount of time and get the products to the people who want them? All those kind of basic level, just making sure you have a fully functional operating e-commerce website and supply chain.
Yeah. And this is a step I feel like not a lot of e-commerce owners, when they're getting started, really think about and take the time to put in these foundational items that are so important. And you wind up paying for it later, which I think you mentioned in the beginning. We wind up wasting quite a bit of time setting these foundational items up for people. And it's not something that, we don't like doing and that we're happy to help provide. But I think providing this checklist is going to be super helpful for people to know, okay, this is really what I should have in place when I get started with a marketing team and when I'm doing Google Ads. Just having these pieces already ready to go makes it so much quicker to move on to the next level.
Definitely.
So we've got the next level then is to test digital marketing strategies and measure the results. So can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so this is so important. And again, this is really foundational. So anytime that we're going to be running, especially online ads, we want to make sure that we're measuring the results and we know the success or failure that the ad has. So in order to do that, we need to get all of our major pixels installed. So if you're thinking about Facebook ads or Google ads, all of those have just a little snippet of code that you're going to get installed on your page. And that's going to help to start collecting audiences, collecting data about the people who hit your site, whether they ultimately made a purchase, maybe even some of the demographic data, depending on what the privacy policies are and how much data we can collect. But this is all really foundational because one, it's going to help us to get some of that data about how people use your site and where people go to make purchases. But two, when we really do start testing things out, that's going to be how you know whether something is working. A lot of times people think, hey, I'm just going to drive some traffic to the site and get a bunch of purchases. But ultimately, you need to be able to make that connection after the fact is, hey, I drove this, I ran this campaign. Did it get me those purchases? Or how do I know that those purchases were attributable to this campaign or to Facebook or Google or to something else? So it's just really, really important to make sure that you've got everything set up and you're measuring everything properly. And then also at this level, we want to start dipping our toe in and testing some things, so let's not spend a huge budget, but let's just get started with testing out something like a Google Ads or something like Facebook. And this is typically we'll be using some of the more basic techniques, some of the more, kind of foundational setup that we like to use, and just kind of start to see what is the return that we're getting? And is this something that's going to work right away, or do we need to make some changes? So we want to make sure we're doing that on a smaller experimental budget so that we're not, kind of wasting any money through that initial learning phase.
Love it. And not only are you getting a checklist to walk you through all of these pieces, one thing I want to mention is that we also include small case studies for each level so that you can see real world examples of how these checklists have been applied and how they helped actual businesses move on to the next level of the maturity model.
Definitely.
So let's take a look at level 3. We're talking about optimized campaigns and then finding what works. What do you think is important to mention about this level?
So this level is all about getting to profitability. So we started out by making sure that the site was up. We started making sure that everything is measured well. And now we're testing some campaigns. So this is all about individually, let's look at, is Google Ads performing well? Is this particular type of Google ad performing well? Is this particular campaign? Well, let's start doubling down on that. And then, hey, is this other type of ad not working so well? Maybe we'll stop spending on that. So what I really think about here is kind of tweaking campaigns, making sure that we're understanding what is performing well, doubling down on those things, and then understanding what's not performing well and turning those off so we're not wasting any money. That's really what level 3 is all about. I think what makes level 3 special or different is that it's all about the individual campaign. So let's think about, is Google Ads working, or what strategies inside of Google Ads are working? What strategies inside of email marketing are working? Let's make sure that we're getting the most that we can out of each of the individual campaign types, the individual platforms that we're using, and just see how far they can take us before we really start applying some of those advanced techniques.
So valuable. Okay, level 4, I think this is where everybody wants to get to. We're all aiming for level 4. This one's scale results to new levels. So how can we get to level 4? What are we talking about here?
Yes. So the big answer to how we can get there is you've got to get through all the individual steps. They all build upon each other. And this is how you get up to that level 4. And this is where we really start to think, hey, we've gotten to profitability. We've run some ads and we've been able to do it at a level that is profitable. For every dollar we put in, we're getting back $2 or $3 or $5, whatever you need to make your margins make sense. And then as we're getting those back, one of the big roadblocks we'll find at that level 3 stage is often, hey, we're profitable. For every dollar I put in, I'm getting some money back. But you can't necessarily always scale that. If I am, profitably spending $100 and getting back a reasonable amount of revenue, well, if I up that to $200, all of a sudden those results fall apart, and I'm no longer able to, scale that up and see where I can take that. So that's what level 4 is all about. It's starting to understand not only how we can optimize each individual campaign type for profitability, but how can we start to scale up those results, make sure that we're growing the results and maintaining the good results as we put more and more money against it. We're continuing to get those same good results at a higher level and at a higher volume. And what that's all about typically is understanding a little bit more of the customer journey as they move across different channels. So we're no longer thinking just about, hey, what Google Ads campaign is working? We're thinking about, hey, what strategies are we, maybe using Google Ads to collect email addresses and then doing different targeting strategies inside of email marketing, which is ultimately making the purchase. Or, hey, we need to use Facebook ads to really develop the interest and develop the awareness of our brand, and then close the sale with Google Ads once somebody's actually searching for our product. So a lot of this is the customer journey as it moves cross-channel. And a lot of it also is understanding the customer lifetime value. So how can we, oftentimes scaling means not just getting profitable results on that first initial purchase, but understanding what it means to acquire a new customer and how much that customer is going to give you back over the lifetime of the customer. So maybe you can spend a little bit more to get that first purchase, knowing that we're going to be able to continue to remarket to them, get many more purchases, as we develop that relationship into the future.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is such a huge piece of level 4 is that customer lifetime value. And if you're not quite there yet, let me ask, you've downloaded this maturity model, you've gone through a few of the steps. Ideally, what's the level that you should be contacting for outside marketing help for Google Ads? Do you have any guidance there along this roadmap when people should be reaching out for help?
Definitely. So I think to really get a good investment into paid search, we typically look at that around level 3. So that's, once you've already got the website set up, once you've already got, you're measuring, you've got some things going, and then you're ready to really start making a strong investment in optimizing individual campaign types. That's really where we look at as kind of the bread and butter to start that process. That being said, obviously, not every business owner is ready to get themselves to that point without any outside help. So one of the big things we offer is a free 30-minute strategy consultation. So once you've downloaded the maturity model, you've gone through the checklist, you kind of start to get a feel for what pieces do you have locked down, what pieces do you have some gaps on. Why don't you go ahead and come back to the website, book a free session with us, and we're happy to kind of talk you through it, figure out, what is your individual roadmap to, follow along this path, and what do you need to do next to kind of get yourself to that level where you're ready to really get profitable results and then scale those up and make a ton of money.
We're here to help. Awesome. Thank you, Andy. So if you want our digital marketing maturity model, like I said before, just go to ppcpitbulls.com, and up at the top menu, there'll be a free resources section, and it will be right there ready for you to download.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, this has been great. Thank you for taking some time. I'm glad we're able to introduce the digital marketing maturity model. For as long as this has been in production, it's still kind of a mouthful. Maybe we should have gotten a shorter, more catchy name on that, but I think it is a really valuable resource. I do want to say just one more kind of call to action for everybody. This is a really valuable tool. It's a PDF. It's all kind of yes or no questions, checklist type format. As Lindsay mentioned, there's case studies in there, so you can really see how to apply each step. And then we're always here to help. So go through, see what you think of it, see what insights you can pull out just by going through on your own, and then feel free to schedule something with us to kind of talk through it in more depth and figure out what the roadmap looks like for your company specifically.
Yeah, we're excited to hear from y'all.
All right. Thanks for your time today, Lindsay. We'll
all right. Have a good one.